Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Shakespearean Shrew Abroad. I am your Shakespearean Shrew, Karen Feiner, lover of all things Bard, and this is a decorum be damned entrance into all things theater, literature, and all the fun, weird world in between. Today, I am talking with author and native Chicagoan Mark Benson about his debut young adult contemporary novel. It's a mouthful, everybody. Isaac and the Sky. Not a mouthful. A beautiful title that is very simply summing up what your amazing book is about. I
Thank you.
thought you did a really good job of kind of bridging the content of your book, which seems to be an amalgamation of a very specific point in your life. But Mark, I'm so excited to have you on and to talk about your wonderful book. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so happy you read it. Just it's that simple. Like I'm just happy anyone reads it. So
So, I read that you were a NASA ambassador, which
yes.
seems to have a lot to do with the book because your book has a lot of information
Hmm.
about the solar system, the different stars, the moons, the planets. I learned so much
Good.
reading your book. But what does it mean to be a NASA ambassador and how did that happen?
Yeah, so it's a really fancy title. The shorter way to say it is a NASA educator. So basically, NASA understands that if you watch the news every night or go online and look at news stations, unless it's a trip around the moon like we just had, you're probably not going to see a whole lot about what NASA's doing. So they want to get people around the country who are enthusiasts and are knowledgeable to um, create their own events. So I'm empowered to create my own events. I'm responsible for creating and putting on my own events. And I go to a lot of schools, do presentations at libraries. I do observing nights where I bring my telescope out into a park and we all look at whatever's up in the sky that night. And yeah, so I got into that. I was at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago here as a volunteer, teaching people about telescopes. And then through just chatting with people there, I learned that NASA was having this cool event where they were inviting people from around the country to apply to attend an end of mission for the Cassini mission to Saturn was coming to an end years ago. And they were inviting people with social media platforms and who were enthusiasts to come out. And I think it was like maybe 15 people, 20 people to get kind of behind the scenes look at how that all goes. They call it a NASA social. And they do these every now and then. They stop them for COVID for obvious reasons. Everything's social stopped. But they've since they brought them back. But I had never heard of these. Someone pointed me to it, and I thought, well, I don't really have much of a platform, but I remember filling out the application. It was like, how many Instagram followers do you have? And every one of those, it was the first category. The 0 to whatever number was always what I was clicking. And by the time I got done with the application, I'm like, I just wasted 5 minutes, but okay, fine. Um, for whatever reason, probably because I had Adler Planetarium on my form, I got picked. And I went out to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for 3 days, I think it was, out in Pasadena, California, and got to meet amazing mission scientists and engineers and was in mission control, when the mission came to an end. And at the end of that, there was like this reception to kind of celebrate everything. And I'm not the most social. Like if it's people I know, I'll be social and have a good time. But you put me in a crowd at like a dinner party or something, like I'm looking for the exit. Like I don't want anything to do with that. I don't know how to talk to people I don't know. So, but I kept telling myself, you're here. You have to go talk to, like, when you're going to be here again, you have to make yourself talk to people. So I saw these two older gentlemen sipping beverages on the far end of the room, and I thought, well, they look harmless. I'm going to go talk to them. So I went over and introduced myself to them, and they just started pelting me with questions before I even really got a chance to figure out who they were. Um, so they're just, they're asking me all about the Adler and all about telescopes and favorite things to look at in the sky. And they're just like the two most interested people in me that I've probably ever met. And it occurred to me midway through this conversation that I still had no idea who these two were at all. I just knew they worked at NASA because they had badges. So after me just spilling uncomfortably about myself, I was like, so what do you two do here? And that's when I learned that one of them built the Voyager spacecrafts in
Oh
the
my God.
70s. And the other one was the head of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for a long time, and his name is on mission control. John Cassani and Charles Ilaki. I was just in the Charles Ilaki Mission Control Center, and that's who I was talking to. And they're like, it was exciting and embarrassing all at the same time. Like, I'm just talking to you about teaching kids about telescopes. Meanwhile, I have legends in front of me. But then they quickly turned and said, well, are you in the ambassador program? I said, what's the ambassador program? And they looked across the room and they flagged down the person who was in charge of the ambassador program, who was in the room, brought her over and said, we have a new person for your ambassador program right here. His name's Mark. And I was like, well, I don't even know what this is, but I'm in as long as these two are my references on my application. And they're like, yeah, sure. So as far as I'm concerned, I have the best references that anyone has ever had to get into the program. And yeah, I applied, and a few months later, I got the letter in the mail that I was in. And you get renewed every year. They look at the programs you've done to make sure you're still doing your thing, what you're supposed to be doing. And yeah, I've been renewed year after year after year. So it's been, I think I'm on my 10th. I'm on my 10th year now. I'm about to have my 100th public event in about a month. So
That's amazing.
yeah. So I don't have one
It should
near.
count as an event because I feel like it should.
It almost should. I try to sneak it in when I can, but it's funny. My no one could tell, but I know the photo that's on my ID when NASA picked me for the program. They said send us a picture, a headshot, so we can put it on your ID. And I sent them the picture that I took that was taken of me with John and Charles. And it's just zoomed in, cropped, and it's just me, but it's basically the happiest I've ever looked. But so I know that on the other side of that picture are those two, that's what's happening in that photo. So,
Only you need to know.
yep, that's fine. It's great. I love it. It's like one of my favorite pictures.
So with this, because obviously I'm a little jealous because I used to go to Chicago all the time when I was at Purdue,
Yeah,
and I'd always go to the Huntington Library because I'm a Shakespearean, so that's where I was.
absolutely. That's where you go.
But now I'm so bummed that I missed going to the Adler Planetarium.
Well, the next time you're back around,
Yeah, from
whenever
Germany.
that is, yeah.
Um, but so with all the experience that you've had at the planetarium, all the research that you've obviously done for this book,
Mhm.
because it's clear that even though you had a lot of knowledge, that this book is very well researched as well.
Yeah, I definitely took some time. Yeah.
Do you have a fact that is one of your favorites about space?
Yeah, so it's great. I always I always tell people, I said, here's a fun fact, and then I'm always told, wait, let them be the judge of whether they're fun or not. But so my favorite one, just kind of in general about space, and it's not even like the one that I think is the coolest, but it's the one that gets the most confused looks in the room whenever I say it. So I appreciate that because yeah, I can say this, and people in the room, you see them get very confused, and then one by one, people start to figure it out, and that's like really exciting to me. Is that my favorite space fact is that and I often say it backwards. I have to catch myself because it's so confusing to just even say it. A day on Venus is longer than a year. Now you're thinking about it. You're doing the math in your head, and you're just about to figure it out. See? Yeah, it rotates so slowly that it goes all the way around the sun before it ever rotates around itself.
That is an amazing
And
fact.
I just think that's a cool one, largely because of the reaction I get when I say it in the room. Because you just see like the thought bubble above people's heads trying to figure it out, especially when it's like third or fourth graders, which actually little kids are the ones who figure it out the fastest.
Really,
Most adults really think hard about it, but the kids are like, oh, so you mean, like, yeah, you got it. You're fine. Yeah.
it does play around with like the construct of time and
Yeah, it
how
doesn't make any sense. Like it shouldn't be right. So that's kind of a favorite fun fact. But one of the coolest things though is that the Adler Planetarium has, obviously with the book, and a lot of what I did is all about looking through telescopes and observing the night sky. The Adler Planetarium has a mock-up of a telescope that is basically supposed to be the kind of thing that Galileo would have used. That if you look through this telescope, this is what Galileo's experience would have been observing the night sky. And every now and then when I was there at the planetarium, I would roll this one out because I thought it was really neat to use, because it's terrible. It's like looking through the longest, narrowest straw, like not even like a straw for like boba or something, but like a really thin fast food straw. And you can't see anything through this telescope at all. And it just led me to believe that Galileo was not only brilliant and patient, but he must have had one hell of a sense of humor. If this is what he was doing, and I just kept thinking, imagine what he could have discovered if he had even just Isaac's simple little backyard like not even a good one, not even an observatory on a mountain, not even the Hubble or the James Webb Space Telescope, but just a standard backyard telescope. Today, the things he could probably discover would probably just blow us all away in days.
Oh man. So did you have the same job at the Adler Planetarium as Isaac? Like the same kind of volunteer?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I showed up once or twice a week and would open up, if the weather was good, we'd open up the full observatory in the back right along the lakefront. And we did solar observing. They don't do solar observing in the observatory anymore. They upgraded to a much better telescope that doesn't have a solar aspect to it, so it's just for nighttime viewing. But at the time, it had a large telescope and then it had a solar viewer on it. And so I'd bring people in, and you have to climb a ladder like to get up to the eyepiece to look through, and look at the sun through the telescope, and then sometimes for night events. But then if we didn't open up the observatory, we'd grab small telescopes, roll out to the front steps of the planetarium and greet people. I always thought it was really cool that someone would get a chance to look at something in the sky. They would get a chance to look at the sun before they even went up the step. Like they haven't even bought their tickets yet, and they've already looked at something in space. So that was kind of my goal, was to get people in the right mindset right before they even marched up the steps. They were already in the right headspace for what they're going to experience inside.
Oh, I love it. Man, I want to go.
It's a short flight. It can't be that far.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you
No.
get time back, right? If you fly west, like you get, yeah,
Yes.
that's how that works, right? Yeah.
Like you said, time's a construct.
Time is confusing. Yeah.
So the other part of this amalgamation that created this story seems to be the idea of loss, and
Hmm.
specifically maternal loss.
Yep.
And so you dedicated this book to your mother, and
Yep.
you also mentioned her loss, which I'm so sorry for in your acknowledgments. But you said that the book wouldn't exist without her and without her loss.
Right.
So how did her life and loss subsequently result in this fantastic book?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, I put it right in the acknowledgments, like right at the top of the acknowledgments, that like it's weird to think that she won't read it, but it couldn't have been written if she was around. So it was just kind of this quandary that kind of struck me at the end. Honestly, halfway through writing the book, I didn't realize I was writing it about her. It was one of those things where I thought, oh, I got this character I really like, and I've got this plot I really like, and it feeds into my interests, and this is great. I'm just writing this amazing fictional story. And somewhere in the middle of writing it, all of a sudden I was like, now wait a second. What am I actually doing here? Is it dumb that I haven't realized it till I'm in the middle? But yeah, so I mean, she's the one who got me into space. So I mean, from the low hanging fruit level, the most bare bones level, the reason I do anything space wise is because she made sure that if I grew up in the era of the shuttle launches in the early and mid '80s. If a shuttle was being launched from Cape Canaveral, I was watching it. If it was landing, I was watching it. If I was at school when they were launching one, she would call the school and tell my teachers that I was supposed to be removed from the classroom and put somewhere there was a TV to watch it, because she was demanding that I got to see it. Um,
I
so
love
she,
that.
yeah, so she made sure I saw all these. So from the most bare bones level, the book doesn't exist without that, because I'm not at the planetarium without her doing that, and I'm not at going to NASA without any of that. And I certainly wouldn't have thought of writing a book about astronomy without any of that. I wouldn't have a telescope in my closet if it wasn't for that. So on the the bare bones level, that's really important. Um, but also that um, I think one of the things that struck me because I developed the character of Isaac. I develop characters and stories in kind of a weird way. I mean, maybe a lot of people do it this way, but none of my writer friends do it this way. So I consider myself weird in this sense, is that I come up with characters separately than from plots. So I come up with characters and backstories. I'm like, oh, that character is really interesting. And then I come up with plots separately. And I'm like, oh, I would really like to write a story about this someday, but this is kind of an adventure. And I scribble them over here. And then what I end up doing is I end up trying to match up a character with a plot to see where they fit in.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like choose your own adventure. It's like, where am I going to stick this character? What's the best adventure for them? And Isaac was obviously someone from the very beginning. His character, his whole backstory was written down, dealing with all of that loss and his whole background. My loss of my mom was not as dramatic and snap of a finger, it just happened kind of a thing. It was much more gradual, like most things are. But it was obviously an influence in how I built that character, and just the general idea that when you have a loss of anyone who's significant, it could be a parent, it could be a best friend, it could be an uncle, if your uncle is your person, like whoever that is, um, there's inevitably questions, and you find yourself in quiet moments just kind of trying to figure out it's not even like sitting down and saying, okay, so what does this loss mean? It's not even that. It's not even really even in that day or that week or that month or at the funeral or at the wake. There's too much stuff going on. It's too busy to even really, for me at least, to kind of comprehend that. It's later when I'm talking with other people about completely different things, like talking to you and talking about telescopes. Oh, well, my mom got me into that. And then hearing a piece of music and knowing what that piece, because my mom was a musician, and hearing a piece of music and going, oh, that's, my mom used to play that. She was an organist and she used to play that. And that's why I like space. And that's why I like Mozart. And that's why I like Shakespeare. And that's why I like, and little by little, month after month after month, with these conversations that aren't about my mom at all, you suddenly go, all of these things that are my favorite things were her favorite things. It never even really occurred to me all of the things that I know and am interested in that she introduced me to. So I think that's kind of where that character kind of lives in that literal space is without that person around, the person that in Isaac's case he barely kind of remembers. But in that sense, it was kind of like those little tidbits. Like Isaac remembers fussing over clothing. Isaac remembers, it's funny because I don't even remember examples that got in the book versus ones that maybe came out. But it's like, he remembers fussing over clothing. He remembers, getting dressed up. He remembers, getting shoes crammed in at a shoe store, that maybe didn't know, no, you are a size 8. You're going to make these fit. Like little, the way, she tied her hair up or something if it was a warm day, like things like a hat she wore when she was gardening, like little snippets, little images. And that's kind of like my experience has been like, oh, I didn't realize, it didn't even occur. Like I got the music thing from her, and I got the space thing from her, and I got the writing thing from her, and I got all of these things. It was like the little fussing. I forgot that the reason I can hear a piece of Mozart come over in a movie or a TV show or something and be, oh, that's the Lacrimosa. I know that. Well, that's not, I didn't just figure that out. My mom showed that to me. So, that was the fussing. Like that was the fussing of the shirt. It was those little things. It was that type of a thing. But I had to kind of translate it, to a kid and Isaac who was younger, who was 8. So it wouldn't necessarily have been larger things like reading Hamlet or, or learning a piece of music on the piano or something like that. It would have been a little simpler. It would have been a little more bare bones, like how a shirt was put on or how shoes were fit or a hat that was worn, things that
Yeah.
are just a little more basic.
And I love that about your book because as much as we were exploring the sky,
Mm-hmm.
it also felt like an exploration of grief
Mm-hmm.
and the pieces of it that some that are always present and some that aren't.
Yeah.
Some that, seem to hit us when we least expect them.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah, surprising moment. I like when I figured out I was writing a book about her. That was surprising. I didn't realize that at the time. But yeah, and it's funny because it leads me back to one. I self-published this book, but I did have I have had a couple literary agents that I've had in the past trying to sell books for me, and the last one I had I had who signed me for Isaac, and unfortunately it didn't sell.
Mm.
But um, that was the book this agent picked me up for. And then I wrote her a few other books after that. We went on submission for a few other books. And I just remember in one email, I don't think she meant this to be some kind of a grand statement. I think she was just writing a very general reply to me in some email about some plot point. And in this one email she just wrote, she just said, well, your superpower is sadness. So lean into that. And that sentence, whether she meant it to or not, like I literally am telling you about it today. Like that was probably 7 or 8 years ago, but like that has stuck. We're like, oh, yeah, she's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I do always find a way to make it really sad for my characters. Yeah.
Well, and I think it also feels authentic. I think that's because there's the sad, Hollywood sad,
Right.
and then there's the snotty, gross, uncontrolled sad
Yeah.
that feels more real, right? Where
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you have no control over your actions right now.
Yeah.
That's how far it's gone, and that's what it felt like. It felt more
Yeah.
authentic than
And I think that was important too, because I think one of the things that I try to do in the stuff that I write, and one of the reasons I got into writing, I mean, I was writing a lot of poetry and short stories. And one of the reasons I started getting into writing more novel length stuff was I was reading a lot. I had a daughter who was little and was going to be eventually hitting, she's 16 now, but eventually at the time she's going to be hitting those young adult novels. And I would read some of them and I would be frankly disgusted by the characters. Like, I don't want her to read that. I don't want her to think that that character is real. I don't want her to think that that character is an inspiration or someone that they should model or be like. And they're being cast that way in the book that that this is the hero. And a lot of that kind of frustrated me. And I just kind of set out to write characters that I thought were beautifully broken
hmm
and in a way that you could latch onto and look up to, not in the sense that they do everything right, but you could look up to in the sense that they make mistakes too, yet somehow they are still a good person and they still have friends and they still found their way out of whatever trap they were in. So with Isaac, it never was a case in the book. I never wanted it to be the case in any of the part of the book that he was perfect and never, making mistakes. Like I wanted there to be scenes where you're reading it going, oh, he was just really mean right there. Like, yeah, other people are being mean to him. He's a victim of a lot of this stuff and he's being bullied and he's in a terrible spot. But there's no reason for him to treat that other person that way. That person was actually being nice to him. So I was very careful to just not, I didn't want him to just be always good.
right.
Like he had to be scared of people and he had to be short with people and he had to assume the worst in people because he had seen enough of that. And do I want people to go and assume the worst in people? No, but we all do depending on our mood that day and what's going on that month or that year. And I want people to read it and go, yeah, no, yeah, I get
And I
why he
love
was
how
short. I get why he was suspicious of that person. Oh man, he shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have done that. That was really cold. But I, I see where he's coming from with that. And if a reader can kind of tie that in and see themselves in some of those scenarios, then I think that's a good thing. And not just be like, boy, I'm not as nice as this character. I'm not as perfect as this character. No, they got to be real. So they have to be like you. You should recognize things in them in yourself.
Yeah. And I think like Isaac, Halley, absolutely loved her.
Yes.
Uh,
She's a favorite character. She was from another story. She was a character I had developed as a backstory separately as well. And then when I started the puzzle piece of putting this together, I married Isaac to the plot, and then very quickly married Haley to. I was like, no, she's coming in here too. I need her in this one. She's meant for this spot.
I love your technique, your process. It is so interesting.
It's a little different. I'm sure there's other people who do it that way. I'm not the only one who does it that way, but amongst my friends, I don't think other people do it that way that I've heard. So if I find other people who do it that way, I'd love to talk to them because I'd love some advice on other things that they're doing about to make that really work well. But yeah, that's how I do that.
That's such a cool process. Do your characters ever do things you don't expect them to do when you're writing?
They don't cooperate. That's the primary problem. And when I say that in a room full of people who aren't writers, they immediately think that I need to be committed somewhere. But if you say that in a room full of writers, they'll go, "Oh, yeah, no, I don't know why they do that." The example I always give is I was writing another story, and I had two characters who were kind of circling around each other for the whole book. And then in chapter 15, they were going to be at a dance, and they were going to dance, and they were going to kiss, and they were going to building their way to each other. Chapter 15, this is when it starts. And I wrote chapter 15, wasn't any good, so I deleted it, wrote it again, wrote it again, wrote it again, and got really frustrated because I'm like, look, I write really complicated scenes and really complicated emotions and really complicated chase and adventure scenes sometimes. This is simple. These two are just chatting at a dance. Like, why can't I write this? What is going on? This is not a complicated thing to write. This is maybe the simplest chapter I've ever written. This shouldn't be hard. And I finally realized the problem was that she wasn't into him. That was the problem. So it didn't work no matter how many times I tried it. She wasn't into him yet. So she just kept telling me, I don't like him yet. And maybe I will, but I don't have a good enough reason to kiss this kid yet. So stop making me try. So I went back and I eventually had them get together in like chapter 18, but I had to add a few more chapters of them getting to know each other and adjust a few things. And then I wrote chapter 18 and it was all fine. But yeah, she was like, no, I'm not ready for that now. And I think, I'm trying to think if there's an example of this in this one. A lot of the things I had in this one was just about what Isaac was willing to share with people, mostly with Haley, because it was kind of the only person he was really willing to share stuff with. Not at first, but eventually.
Yeah.
And so I think there was a lot of kind of revising around, no, he's not ready to say that yet. No, he's not ready to spill that. The whole, like, I found the planet. Like, he just wasn't, there was a few times when I was writing that and I was like, no, he's not there. He's not there
I
yet.
was so frustrated because I was like,
Just say it. Yeah, just say it. And I was the same way writing it because I'm like, come on, kid, just say it. So, okay, fine. We'll give you a couple more chapters before you can say this. But you're going to have to give her something. You have to give her something. So it'd be finding some other thing, to spill, but to keep so she wouldn't just disappear. But yeah, I know that spilling everything to her, that happened later in the book than I think I intended it. I thought I was going to have her along for the full ride a little bit earlier than she was.
yeah, it's funny because I felt that. I felt hesitancy and frustration. And, as a reader, I was like, okay, we can do it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. But it's the biggest, it's the most, there's nothing more dangerous to Isaac, to his core, than this secret of this discovery. This discovery is the most amazing thing, but it is also the most dangerous thing in his entire world. There's nothing more dangerous to him than the idea of this discovery. And there was thoughts when I was first writing it that if he could go back, would he choose not to make the discovery? Because the discovery, it's not just figuring out some little thing or finding some little thing that's new to you, but this is of global interest.
Right.
And the last thing he wants is even local interest. Like, he barely wants his uncle's interest, like, let alone global interest. So this is extremely dangerous to him, and he sees it that way, as this is something to be frightened by. This is something to be scared of. This is something to be extremely cautious of. So yeah, it made sense that it took him a while to even tell her about it, because yeah, there's nothing more dangerous than this getting out to him, because that would just bring his whole world down.
Yeah. So throughout the book, there seems to be an emphasis on naming, whether it is putting the name to his own mother and who she was,
Hmm.
because it seems like everybody kind of walks around not talking about her, not
Right.
mentioning her.
Yeah.
And then we also have the naming of the planet,
Yeah.
which is something that he also seems to struggle with and fight through. What to you is the importance of names as a writer
Mhm.
and within the story?
Yeah, I love names. I get obsessed with names. I get a name that I like, and then I'll write a book with that as the main character. And if the book doesn't go anywhere and I don't publish it, then I'll just use that name again sometimes, because I'm like, I'm using this name and I want this character's name published eventually. Um, the names are important with the main characters to me. A lot of times the side characters will get named for maybe people that I know, like some of my critique partners,
Hmm.
or people like, well, for example, with the with Isaac, the Michelle at the planetarium. There are two Michelles when I was at the planetarium. There was Michelle Larson, who was in charge of the whole planetarium. She was the CEO, and then there was the other Michelle, who was in charge of the observing programs, Michelle Nichols. So that was kind of a composite
Right.
character. So I knew right away there was going to be a character here, and that her name was going to be Michelle, because that made the most sense. So that's kind of one of those things where I'll throw that out, for people I know to do that. Um, I want the names to have I want the names to have meaning. I want them to come from somewhere, or to have some reason why I did the name that way. But also, I I also think of names from a sonically. I think of them in terms of how they sound. When you're reading, even if you're not reading out loud, you're hearing the words in your head. And I just like the way certain names sound. So I like the names to just roll and sound good. And the name Isaac to me was just very strong and simple. Um, but I'm curious because, well, one, there's the kind of the one of the villains, I suppose. There aren't really villains in the book, but one of them in the book is named Bex, and that to me was just a name that sounds like a knife. Like, the name is just sharp, like it's
Right.
quick and sharp, and it just doesn't sound friendly. Like,
Yeah.
that's just so that was just kind of that was more like, again, that was sonically, that was the sound. It sounds harsh. It sounds sharp. Um, but I'm curious, since you mentioned the names, did you figure out the names of the two main characters, and the boy and the girl? Did you figure out the connection of their names? Because you brought up names, so I'm throwing the question back on you.
Oh man.
Because there is significance, but I'm curious if you caught it.
Well,
Some people do and some don't.
I was wondering like if it was like a comet, like the Halley's comet, like if that
There you
was
go. So their names is Isaac Edmonds and Haley Newton. Isaac Newton, Haley Edmonds. Or Edmund Haley, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah. So if you
wow.
flip
Okay,
their
I
names
think
around,
but
but that was me playing around. So that was very intentional, was that. So it's Isaac Newton and Edmund Haley for Haley's Comet, who, the Haley's Comet thing is always one of my, I mean, the comet itself, it's not even important about it, but that he knew that he wasn't going to be around when the comet came back around the next time, but he was so certain of what he had discovered and his math and his understanding of the universe, that he put his entire reputation on, look up in the sky on this day and you'll see this thing back again long after I'm gone. And he was right. So I've always just kind of admired the certainty. and confidence of that. So yeah, so Edmund Haley and Isaac Newton are those two names. And then the dog is named Miles. That was my favorite dog. So it's just that was just super simple. Like that one took, I was like, I need a dog in this. Okay, Miles. That's fine. It's Miles.
I did love Miles very
Yeah.
much. And
The
when
full
you,
name was Miles Davis. That was the full name of the dog, but in the book I think I just say Miles. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, when you said like you had cats in your, I was like, I feel like you're a dog guy.
I have cats now. I had dogs then. But yeah.
You
Which
kind of
also made the cover very simple to make because it was like, well, what goes on the cover? Well, Isaac and the dog. Like it wasn't complicated. Like
can
it
we
was
see the
just like,
cover?
don't overthink it. It was just complicated. It was just Isaac and the dog. That's what goes on the cover. So it's a buddy book.
Can we see the cover?
Yeah. Right there.
Nice. Yeah, I got to read it online, and I was like, I want the
Oh
book.
yeah. Yep. So there's your
Beautiful.
cover.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's perfect.
Yep. And I did that cover myself too. I want to make sure. So
Oh,
I want
nice.
to make sure it was done the way that I wanted it done. So, but it was very simple. It had to be like Isaac and the dog had to be on there.
To me, the names, again, it all plays back to the amalgamative nature where it's, one, you said you wrote a lot of poetry, your
Hmm.
mother was a musician,
Yep.
the knowledge that you put behind the names, not only just the sound of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it all seems to connect
Yeah.
back there, which I
They'll
love.
come from different places, but they always come from like they're never just random. Like it's never just let's just call them Mike. Like it's never that. It's always okay, well what should this character be named? Even if it's kind of a small character and even if it's just oh I'm going to name this character after a friend of mine and just okay, just boom. Or I'm naming a park or a building and I'll name it after a friend of mine or a critique partner or something like that. That might be kind of quick. Oh, I haven't nothing in this book is named after my friend Gene yet. Okay, well, I'm going to go do that. So that might be kind of quick. But otherwise, I sit and think about how does that name sound? Where does it come from? What does it mean? What do you think when you hear it? So yeah, there's always a thought behind those character names.
So how many books have you completed at this point?
12.
Wow.
Yeah. I always
Dang.
joke with my friends. I would trade because I write very fast, so I'll joke that I would exchange quality for or quantity for quality one of these days. But yeah, no, 12. I wrote three, and then I landed an agent with my fourth, and then that didn't sell, and then we kind of split, and then I wrote two more and landed an agent with that, which was Isaac,
Mhm.
and then wrote four more with her, but wasn't able to sell them. And then I've written a couple since. I think that adds
Wow.
up to 12 or 12. It
Oh,
might be 13. I gotta think about that. I might be wrong. It might be 13. But I do write. I write quickly. I'll draft like Isaac. I wrote in 27 days.
do you write? Wow.
Yeah,
Whew, that's
first draft
amazing.
27 days. So it took me like I outlined heavily. So
Uh-huh.
I sat there for a couple weeks and really had it narrowed down. But then once I actually started writing, it was done cover to cover. I always say I don't because I outline so heavily. I don't write first drafts. I write second drafts. So so yeah, 27. I think it's 27 days. I wrote that in. Yeah.
Wow. So how many hours a day? Like, what does your writing schedule look like?
There's no schedule. And I guess that would be one of the pieces of advice I actually would give people is to not have a schedule. You'll hear some people give writing advice. Oh, and we're about to get a visit from a cat. Hi. Hi. How are
Yay!
you doing? Yeah, you can talk to
We
her.
always we're
Yeah.
always fans of our fur friends.
Yep. Gonna go over there. Okay. Yeah, people give advice. Oh, it's work and it's practice, and you have to write every day.
Mhm.
I give the opposite advice. No, don't write. Don't force it. If you're not feeling it, don't write it. You're just going to end up frustrated. You're either going to stare at a blinking cursor, and there's nothing more frustrating than that, or you're going to write something you don't like, and that's equally frustrating. So if you write when you feel it. So I tend to write. I tend to write at night. I tend to write in the evenings. I feel like I write better when I'm a little tired because I feel like then some of the constraints come off, some of the rules melt away, and I get a little bit more poetic and a little bit more literary. Yeah, some of those hard lines fade away. If I sat at my desk, middle of a work day, and like, I'm going to write right now, it'd be a little too technical, and I don't like technical. I like it to be literary, and I like it to be deeply emotional, and I like to be deeply inside a character's head.
Mm.
And I can't do that if I'm like scheduling it. Like that doesn't work for me. I also act out everything I write. So I'm a strange person to watch when I'm doing it. So I'm moving around my room. Like I want to know, like I remember one thing I was writing, I was describing the way a character picked up a rock and he, out of frustration, and threw it. And it was catching the moonlight a certain way. And I wanted to write kind of how it was poetically, kind of how it was catching the moonlight as it sort of seemed to move in slow motion away from him, and the weight disappeared and the last bits of light tailed away until it was gone into the darkness, and all that was left was the sound of it hitting. And I wanted that to be poetry. I wanted that to be real. So I remember getting up and going outside and grabbing a rock and like looking for the moon, being, okay, over there. Okay, so cool, let's throw it this way. And then just writing it down really quick. That's what it looked like. That's how the rock caught the light. So I act out any bits of dialogue. I just sit here and argue with myself. So, which is, and I do that because I just want it to all be conversational. I wanted it to be like how people actually talk. Like there is a moment, it is fiction. You want to I just talked about being literary, yeah, you want to give your characters a bit of poetry. You want to make them wonderfully fictional at those particular moments when it can really pay off. But the rest of the time, and the meat of the book, for the most of the time, I want them to just sound normal. I want them to sound like any conversation you would actually have. I don't want them to sound practiced. I don't want them to sound like they have thought this all through. Only for key moments, key revelations or key things will I really think, okay, now I need this. Now I need this to actually be poetic. I need this to actually be thought through, and I want this to be a line people remember. But the rest of it's just got to be banter.
Well, and sometimes Isaac was even like, I have rehearsed this before I have said this.
Yeah, and then
And
it didn't happen. Yeah.
I love that element of it because that's a problem I have with books is we'll be in a high school setting and every kid sounds like they're Yoda, and I'm going,
Yeah.
what? They're 14 years old.
And the only thing they have in common with Yoda at that age is they're giving bad advice. So that's really like there's no worse advice than the advice from like a high schooler or Yoda. Like just terrible advice. Just don't listen to them. But maybe a couple years older. But yeah, they're not, in those key moments, yeah, you want to hit it and strike an emotional chord with someone by giving them something that sounds beautiful when they hear it in their head. But the rest of the time, like, it's one of those things. I remember one of my friends saying, your characters interrupt each other all the time. You use more M dashes in your story than anyone. I'm like, well, because everybody interrupts everybody. I interrupt everybody. I remember I'm joking, like, I interrupted you when I told you that everybody interrupts everybody. Like, everybody talks over everybody. It's not even like I wish I didn't, and I wish other people didn't, but we all do. We all jump in when we think the other person's about to finish their sentence. We jump in on the last word. Like, so yeah, that's how people talk. We interrupt each other all the time. We're always talking. There's not dead air. People aren't, I'm going to sit and think about what you just said, and then I'm going to reply. No, we trip over each other. So I want dialogue to be fast. Like, I just want it to go fast, fast, fast. People don't talk slow. They talk fast. You get two high schoolers talking to each other, and if you're a third party who jumps into that conversation trying to listen, you can't keep up with it. So it should feel that way in the book. It should feel that way.
Yeah, you're preaching.
Yeah.
So one thing I noticed when I was kind of looking through everything, it said you were the owner of the world's largest laundromat.
Yes.
And I was like,
Something else you missed when you were in Chicago. They didn't talk about that at Purdue. Did they not cover that? Was there not a course?
how did I miss that on my tour?
Man, I mean, it's an engineering school. How could they miss an amazing place like that?
Amazing feat.
Yeah.
So, wait, first of all,
It's true, though. You're right. I am. Yes. Yeah.
so I have to wrap my head around that for a second.
Yep.
So does that allow you some of the economic and time flexibility to write, to,
it does help. I have sometimes written when I've been there, for example, if it's just quiet. But yeah, it certainly does allow flexibility. It's a family business, and I was a general manager of it for 20 or 21 years. I didn't really intend to stay that long. There's other things I was interested in doing. So at this point, I'm mostly out. I only go there couple hours a week to check in. I only have a few things I still am responsible for there. I spend more of my time with NASA stuff and writing stuff. Um, I also do Disney travel. I plan Disney vacations for people because I'm a huge Disney nerd, as you can probably see by, I think, my Disneyland sign behind me right there. Um, yeah, so I do Disney vacations for people, and then I'm always been passionate about restaurants, and I moved away from the laundromats, and now I work at a restaurant, like just learning how restaurants work. I'm like all side hustles, like all of them. If you have six side hustles, it adds up to like one full-time gig. So
Well, it's funny because my husband loves listening to like money podcasts and
yeah,
stuff, which is totally outside of my realm.
yeah,
But once we were in the car and they were talking about laundromats and what a great investment they are,
they
and
are.
I was
It's a
like,
good
oh,
business. They're
but
expensive to get started, though. They're
yeah,
expensive to get started, but once you get going, they are good.
yeah, but yeah, I've decided that we should just be best friends based off the fact that you've now mentioned Shakespeare,
Yep.
Disney, like
Well, see, now I'm going to challenge you even further because you read the book. There's a Shakespeare reference in there because there's a Shakespeare reference in every single thing I write. I plant one in every single novel.
oh
I
no,
intentionally, like, I stop and I go, do I have a Shakespeare thing in here yet? No, I don't. And I go and I plant a line, a phrase, something. I mean, one book, it was a little more obvious because one of my teachers taught Shakespeare, so that was like cheating. But I always plant. I actually got to think. I'm trying to remember which one
I was gonna say I was like,
because I have another book coming out in September, and this is a horror novel,
ooh,
and I have a little bit of Hamlet in that one. About that reference is the Winter's Flaw reference from the cemetery scene in Hamlet, and now I can't like even remember the exact phrase, but the bones of Caesar or these great people would just be dust, and is now just used to plug a hole on a wall to prevent the winter's flaw of cold breeze. So I know I have winter's flaw referenced in my next one. I actually don't even remember what my reference is in this one, but I know it's there because I
now
do it every time.
now I'm gonna have to go back.
Now
I'm
see, now you have to read it twice. Yeah, and if you don't find one, let me know because then I made a mistake and I edited something out that I shouldn't have because it should be there. I just don't remember which one it was.
All right, well, listeners as well, I'm sending this to
Go
you
find
as
it.
a challenge. Go find the Shakespeare reference.
The only hint is that 9 times out of 10 it's Hamlet, but but sometimes another one slips in there. But it's mostly Hamlet, or yeah, mostly Hamlet.
Is that your favorite? I'm
That's
guessing.
my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite. I've thought a few times about how to see if I could. I've thought about a Hamlet retelling, like trying to write a high school Hamlet retelling, and but there's so many good ones out there that I feel like I've read and seen so many good retellings of it that I feel like I don't know that I could compete in that
I
space. It's too good.
It's so funny because I just did an interview with Luke Swanson, an author who did a retelling
Okay.
of the other Hamlet brother, and so he took on Hamlet, and it surprised the
Yeah.
crap out of me.
The one I still
But
play with is trying to do my other like favorite thing in like the world of literature or entertainment, and because I'm big into I love theater too, and American musicals, and I like
we're gonna be best
Les Miserables is like my favorite thing, one of my favorite things, and I have several different partially made outlines of how to do a Les Mis, retelling
friends right
in
now.
contemporary world. So yeah, yeah, right now would be a good time for some of that. And yeah, if people ask me, they'll say, when are uh, I've seen Les Mis 13 times, and every time I go, I'll be asked, well, when are you gonna like be done? Like, when are you done seeing it? I'm like, when Eponine lives, I'll stop going. As soon as she's fine,
Fine,
then I'll be okay. But until then, I'm going. Or until I'm invited backstage and they let me have her hat. Then maybe I would feel like I couldn't beat it and I'll just stay home. But
Uh,
until then, no. I'm as long as that character is still there, I'm going. Because again, what is the core of that character? Sadness
yep.
and not getting what they want and having the world blow right by them until they're gone and never quite catching up. So,
I thought I had the title with I've seen Wicked on stage 9 times.
oh, so that's a good one. I've seen that one, I think, three.
So
I'm not
you
quite as caught up on that one. It's a
you kicked
favorite, but yeah, no, Les Mis is my. I mean, I
my
saw like when Les Mis was out originally. I saw that as a kid. Like I don't know, it was like '88 or '89. I don't remember what year that first came out. I think I was like 10, and my mom took me to see it, and I just remember coming out of it just like, what did I just see? I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could tell that story like that. It wasn't even just, well, this was amazing and that was amazing. It was, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know storytelling could be like that. And I had that with writing books too. One of the books that was my favorite growing up is a book by Richard Bach. It's just a little book called Illusions. It's not a big book. It's not, most people I mention it, they don't have any. Some people recognize the name Richard Bach. Almost no one will recognize the name of the book Illusions. Just a short little book. I read it like once a year. And it's not even, if you ask me what my favorite book is, that book doesn't make the list anywhere near the top of the list. But I read it as a kid, and it's one of those where I didn't know that you could tell a story that way. And I think my main thought was, oh, you can do anything. There are no rules. There are no rules. Just tell whatever story you want, however you want to. So I like rereading that one as a reminder that there's, anytime I'm writing, oh, well, we can't do that. No, you can do that if you want to. It's fine. Just do it.
man, what a great reason to reread a book.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Les Mis, I just remember the first time I ever saw it, I came out and my sleeves were soaked because I've been using them as
Yeah.
tissues.
I remember I took my, she'll hate that I'm mentioning it, but oh well. I took my wife to see it. She had never seen it, and I took her to see it a few years ago. And we come out at intermission we get up and we come out, and and she's just destroyed by the first act. And and I just remember saying it doesn't get happier. like,
Like,
like
you know,
I'm just letting you know it doesn't really get happier. So bear down for this.
yeah. Yeah, that's one that's hard for me. It's like Dead Poet Society. It's hard for me to watch it again because it breaks me every time.
Well, and that one's especially hard because of Robin Williams.
Oh,
Like that's especially like it's very hard to watch. You know, What Dreams May Come,
yeah.
or Dead Poets, or Good Will Hunting. Any of those, it's hard. It's hard. I have a hard time watching a Robin Williams movie
Yeah.
these days. Those are tough to watch, but they're also good, so you kind of have to. So
But
yeah,
yeah, Dead Poet Society breaks me every time. But it's the
yeah,
same thing with Les Mis. Like it's just it will always be soul
yeah.
crushing.
It's just made for you. It was just built for you. It just strikes you. You find that thing that strikes you in a way you can't explain. Like I can't explain why do I have such a title like this? I don't know. I saw it at the right moment. I was
Yeah.
like I just saw it at the right moment, and it just lit every nerve ending. Like it hit every part.
So can you tell me a little bit about Writerly? Because that seems very interesting.
Writerly is, I will go down knowing that Writerly is the best thing I will, like, I could get lucky and have one of my books go big. I could get lucky and someone could make a movie out of one of my books. But still, the best thing I ever do in publishing will be Writerly. Um, I, so it's not anymore, but at the time, this would have been like, 2010, 11, 12, 13, in there. Um, that's when I was really just starting to try to write novels. And I created a Twitter account specifically for that reason of finding writers, because that's what I had heard. That's where writers were. Like, that's where you went to make friends as writers. That's where publishing was. That's where agents were, writers were. That's where you went. So I created a Twitter account just for that purpose, just to find writers. And I just started following ones I liked and befriending them and trying to chat with them more, and then eventually befriend some. And I had heard about some people talking about doing, writing retreats.
Hmm.
And and then I went on one. I signed up and went on one, and it was a very organized one. It had people coming in doing classes, and there was like 40 people at it in this huge place. And I had been to writing conventions too, and it was kind of a similar feel with classes and structure and syllabus and all this stuff. And I left that retreat, and I just remember texting one of these writer friends, I want to do that again, but I want to do it without it being organized and just with people that I know. Like, what if we just did that? And so we put together this idea of a writing retreat, and none of us really knew, like, all we knew were people from Twitter. Like, that was just like, well, I don't really know this person, but we chat online and they seem cool. And maybe a couple people kind of knew each other because maybe they lived in the same city or had been to a writing convention together and met each other, a couple times. But basically, I just kind of went out and took this group of writers that I knew from Twitter and rolled the dice a little and thought, I'm going to invite them to a retreat in the Smoky Mountains. We're going to get a cabin. We're going to stay there for a week, and we're all going to write. And hopefully it's not going to end like Stephen King's Misery. Like, that's really was the fear. So much so that I came up with a t-shirt for that first retreat. And the t-shirt, I went and I used Photoshop, and I went and I remade the movie poster for Misery. And I put all of our writer names on it instead as the cast. And I think the heading on it was 11 introverts, 7 days, one cabin, what could go wrong? So that group has evolved. So we did the retreat, and it was wonderful. And some of them came back for another year. Some of them, just didn't quite fit. And the group has evolved. And now it's kind of resettled into this, like the last 5 years, maybe or so. It's really just always the same 8, 9, maybe 10 people. And it's every year. And these are they just were people that I barely knew from Twitter who were writers. And now they're all my best friends in the world. Like, we talk about writing as well. We have a Slack channel and we talk work, and my editor for my stuff is a member of this group, and she edits all my stuff. She has an editing business. And all my critique partners are there, but also all my best friends are there. So, people in that group have stood up at each other's weddings and have, been godparents for, like, it's just the best group of friends now. But we're all writers, and we're all at different levels, and it doesn't matter. Like, there's people in the group who write and never share what they write, except maybe with us. There's those of us who were, hardcore trying to query and get agents and go traditional publishing. There are those in there who are extremely well versed at self-publishing, and they've been doing it successfully for years. And then there's people in there who have Netflix shows, that were made from their books. So it's like all across the gamut. And we all just meet once a year at this cabin, and we eat great food because one of them is an amazing cook. And we stay out of her way and we let her cook. And we did Thanksgiving once we were there. We surprised the group, and we woke up really early and we cooked a full Thanksgiving dinner for people. And we do. Yeah, it's great. So, but we've done that 10 years now. We just did our 10th year of that. So it's amazing. So every time I go into a bookstore, I go and I look for all their books on the shelves, and then I go up to the person at the counter, and I'm like, okay, here's a list of authors. You should look for these names. There you go. Put them on your shelves. So
Oh man, solidarity. I love it. So,
yeah,
I mean, that just sounds like such a great idea to
yeah.
initiate, and the results seem,
The
it,
results were more than I could have hoped for.
yeah.
I didn't expect to get best friends out of it. Like, I just thought this is going to be a great resource for writers, because writing is always going to be lonely. It's always going to be something you do on your own. But I joked about, inviting a bunch of introverts to a room. I first thought we were all going to be there and we're going to just be sitting all in the same room together, just texting each other, and no one's actually going to be talking. Like, that's how we're going to keep just texting. But what we learned very quickly, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, like when I tell a room full of non-writers something and they look at me like I'm crazy, it's wonderful at least 1 week out of the year to say all this stuff out loud and everyone in the room gets you, like it's really important. So I highly recommend it. Like find people somehow, whether it's local book clubs or whatever. Like I'm not even, it's funny, I don't even have a Twitter account anymore. So like, I don't know where I hear book talk is kind of a thing. So that's great. Wherever, I don't know where writers are meeting, but I feel like that's more, people, hosting shows and podcasts and selling books. But like, I don't know where writers find writers these days, but at the
Yeah.
time it was Twitter. So wherever it is now, go find that spot and take a little bit of a risk, reach out to some people, message some people, reply back, start a conversation, DM people, and find out who your people are, and just try to, at the very least, have that communication. But I do think it's great to be able to meet up in person if it's at all possible. It's not easy, it's expensive, and everyone has to travel. There's people who come from Canada, there's people who come from Seattle, people who come from New York. And, my one lucky person in the group is from Nashville, so they got like the short little drive to the mountains. But it's not an easy thing for everyone to pull off. That's why it's once a year. But it's wonderful. I just recommend it. Find a group. You're gonna write by yourself, but if you can at least lean on some other people, it's very, very helpful.
That's amazing. I mean, you talked about social media a little bit, the platforms, all of that. How do you feel about the state of publishing where it is right now, considering how fast things keep moving in
Yeah.
terms of technology and the issues with AI?
Yeah, I mean the AI stuff is a whole other thing. I mean the AI stuff in terms of the creative side of things is not good and nobody wants it. I mean it's really like there's you can go on, but really it's that simple.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. Fair enough.
as to the way publishing works, it's fascinating because I do think I do think writers are a little more empowered to do what they want now. Like, I still think if you can get an agent and you can get traditionally publishing and you can get their distribution network and they're going to promote your book and they're going to then sell your book and create events for you. And then when that's all done, they're going to start contacting film agents and try to get adaptations and sell your book overseas. Like, great. That's nearly impossible to do as someone by themselves doing it independently. Like to do all of that stuff, it's really you really got to hit the lottery if you're able to make all of those things happen all at one time. At the same time, I have writer friends who got their agent, were published traditionally, and the publisher just they're publishing a lot of books and they didn't really like they published it, they sent it to stores, it was in their catalog, but they didn't really promote it, they didn't really support it, they just published it. And there are times when I see that and I think about, well, maybe I'll go back to querying, maybe I'll go back to trying to get an agent again. I had luck before. I've had two agents. So I'm not bad at getting agents. I'm bad at selling a book, but I'm pretty good at getting an agent. Maybe I should try that again. I hesitate and I go, yeah, but that doesn't mean that that a publisher is going to give your book any more attention than, than you're going to give it yourself. And, if you have all the control yourself and you can design the cover the way you want and you can release it the way you want and do all that, it takes a lot of time to do it yourself and it's harder. It's why I always stayed away from self-publishing for so long was that I don't have time to market it. I don't have time to sell it. Um, and I still don't really have all the time to do what I would hope to do with it. But um, to me, the decision to self-publish wasn't so much of it wasn't conceding that I'll never traditionally publish. It wasn't conceding that these books aren't good enough for a bookstore, so I just have to do it myself. It wasn't any of that. It was the process of sitting down to write another project and starting these was getting to be a little bit more like going uphill because your brain chimes in and says, oh, yay, I can't wait to start another book that no one's going to read. Let's devote all of our free time to something no one's going to read. This is great. This is exciting. And for some people, they write for the love of it and they just write and they write and they write. I still do some poetry that way and I just do that for fun. No one ever sees that stuff. Like I'll always write, but from a novel side, and this is just individual, it isn't right or wrong, but from a novel writing side, I got to a point where I was no longer okay with people not reading it. Like I couldn't just write
Yeah.
I couldn't write a novel. And some people can write novels and don't care if anyone reads it. That's wonderful. I can't. I was getting too stuck going, yep, no one's going to read this. Can't wait to work on this for hours and hours and hours and stay up late and get no sleep. So no one can read it. I finally just had to know someone was going to read it, and I didn't care how many.
Yeah.
Like it didn't matter to me. It stopped mattering. It was like I could sell 3 copies. I don't care. I just need to know the character's alive. Like I just need them to be somewhere. And um, so that's all I wanted. I wanted something published, and now I have people reading it, and it's exciting. And I've managed to find some more time to do some more marketing, and I've gotten a little smarter about it. And I'm going to have another book out in September, and I'm going to use everything I've learned on this one to try to get that one off. To like I've had like Isaac has had a good second wind, but
Hmm.
I fumbled everything as far as the release goes. But now I'm like, all right, well, my next one, I think I'm going to have a better footing from the start, and it's exciting to think that like more people will read my second one than will have read Isaac. It doesn't matter if it does well or does poorly, but more people will read it. I know that, and that's exciting to me.
Well, like, and if you think about Dan Brown, nobody read his first books until they got to the Da Vinci Code, and then
Yeah.
everybody
And
was
then they went back and read the other ones. Yeah. I have a backlist. I told you I've written like 12. My
yeah.
backlist is like I am very empowered by my backlist. I can dig deep and just keep books coming. So
So I feel like once you get out there, because I really, really enjoyed the book, and so I am very
thank you.
excited. Can you tell us the title of your upcoming
The
project?
next one, yes, the next one is called The Scattering.
Oh, that's a good title.
Yeah, I like it. And it is I haven't even gotten far enough. Like I haven't developed all my promotional materials for it yet, so I don't have all my pitches for it. But um, basically, it's a young adult novel or older. I mean, even Stephen King's The Stand, it was all kids, but it's an adult novel. So
Yeah.
the kid's 18. The characters are 18 in this book. So YA, adult, whoever is okay with scary stuff. Um, the kid is a budding, about to become very successful, very much a prodigy painter, and he has a horrible, horrible nightmare one night. And when he wakes up from this nightmare, he can no longer see color. And then he proceeds to have the exact same nightmare every night forever and no other dreams of any other kind. All he has is this same nightmare for 5 years. And the nightmare is him watching his family get murdered. And he never sees the killer because he's hiding.
Hmm.
But his family gets killed in this nightmare every night for 5 years.
Wow.
And he no longer paints because he can't see color anymore, so he's lost that. And he's just kind of broken down. And he's living with the knowledge that he doesn't think this is a nightmare, he thinks it's a vision. So he knows how his family is going to be killed, and there's nothing he can do to stop it because he never even sees the killer. He doesn't know what is happening. But this is his whole world now is a black and white horror movie of his family about to be killed, and he finally follows a few clues, and it's a ghost story. So there's a vengeful spirit that he has to uncover the secret of and he believes that if he can track down the secret of the spirit, he can figure out what's happening and save everybody.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe we'll have to have a talk sometime before this book comes
yeah,
out so we can, you know, hear more about it and hear what you changed from Isaac in the Sky to your new book in terms of fumbling and
yeah,
what how that's going to go for you because would I'm sure I and the rest of the writing world at large would love to hear all about how that goes for you this time around.
yeah. I would. Yeah, it's exciting. This one, it's actually a book that I wrote before I wrote Isaac, but I've rewritten it like from not just revised it, but rewritten it in full 3 times. So the version that's going to come out, I wrote after Isaac, but it's a story that I've had for a very long time, and kept coming back to it because I just had the certainty that this story is good. This is a good story. I'm just not writing it correctly. Like it's not, I'm not finding it yet, and I finally found it. So it's like, okay, now it's, but this one has been in my head for a very long time. This character is very annoyed that Isaac got to go first. Like, Ian tells me, like, all the time that he's very annoyed that Isaac got to go first. So this character's name is James, and James is very, very upset with me. Has been very
Well,
upset with me for a very long time. So,
I look forward to meeting James.
yes. I'm looking forward to getting him out of my head and into everybody else's head because he's a problem. So, but it's neat because one of the things I like doing, like when I did the Isaac launch, I had it at a planetarium
Hmm.
and
Oh
I
wow.
promoted all these missions. I had scientists and I promoted all these missions and was just doing all this stuff, talking about it, and trying to tie everything in with this because it's about a painter. I'm working with art teachers in the area and high school painters, and I'm commissioning works of art from them based on pages of the book. I'm giving them pages in advance and saying, paint, here's 3 pages, paint whatever you want. I don't care. It's yours now. And I'm commissioning them, so the launch is going to be an art show and a book launch at the same time. The bookstore is going to convert itself into an art gallery, and we're going to let all the artists come in and talk about their work and sell their work and hopefully make money off of their work
Right.
and talk about what inspired them from these pages to paint this, and then we'll have my book over there as well. So I'm hoping to promote a lot of local artists, to get a lot of high school artists who maybe have never been paid for their art before, or maybe never had a commission before. I'm excited to give them their first chance at that. And I'm excited about the book, but I'm really excited about picturing all these pieces of art and these artists standing there talking about maybe for the first time showing in public some of their work. So I think that's going to be really cool.
Mark Benson, you are an amazing human. This
Also,
is
that's the nice way of looking at it. The cheap way of looking at it is say I'm basically just paying for my own fan art. So that's the other way to look at it. But it really is the other way. My wife is an artist; she does stained glass. So I'm very like I see how artists have. It's not easy to be a writer. It's not easy to be an artist of any format.
yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I have any ability to help someone with a platform like that and to see some really cool art, like I want to see what they come up with. Like I'm excited. Like I want to see the art. So I'll help
Yeah, I
promote it.
mean, between NASA and artists, like you're a champion for the underdogs because
Whatever I can do. Yep. And hopefully if it Pell pays back, I'll find a big time Hollywood film director who will champion me and put my book on screen somewhere.
let's
So
put that on the list. So, where can people buy Isaac in the Sky?
yeah, so you can get Isaac anywhere, pretty much anywhere online you would
Okay,
shop for.
so
Like you can find it, the Amazons, the Barnes and Nobles, the ebook is on Amazon. If someone listening is a bookstore or a library, you're going to go to Ingram or Ingram Spark and find it there. But otherwise, if you just Google it, you're going to find it on all of those platforms. Like you're not going to find it in Barnes and Noble or something like that, but you're going to find it. You're going to be able to find that ISBN number up there.
right,
But yeah,
I'll put a link at the bottom of
thank you.
the podcast so that you all know where to go to get your own copy. Uh, Mark, it has been such a pleasure. I feel like, again, I have learned so much and had so much fun. And I do hope we get to talk again so that maybe we can talk more about your processes and Disney because we didn't really get to talk about Disney, and I feel like we should.
No, we'll cover that too. Yeah, there's a lot to go over, and one of these days, I mean, I wrote a space theme book. I would guess it's inevitable that there'll be a Disney book. Probably. I don't have one at the moment, but it seems inevitable, I suppose.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And everyone else, just remember, all the world's a stage, and you too can be a shrew. Bye.
Bye.